Hello and welcome to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally and I woke up today and looked at the What's New section of jw.org. For those of you that don't know, jw.org is the main hub of content coming from the Jehovah's Witness religion. And they had a video that I clicked on and I was simultaneously, I don't know. I was appalled and really fascinated by this video that they recently released. So I thought I'd want to talk about that and get your guys' thoughts on it as well. So let's do this. Alright, well, before we get started, don't forget to drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second, and it makes a massive difference in helping it get out to more people on YouTube. It's very much appreciated by me, and if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of interesting, fun, and new things that are on board. Not just solely focusing on exjw content, because I think when we become heliocentric in our viewpoint of, you know, let's just focus on Watchtower and let's just keep talking and talking and talking about it. At a certain point, I think it would be kind of fun to have a space within the XJW community and a larger community as well, where we can just talk about things that we enjoy, videos that we find funny, concepts, news stories, ideas, all of that good stuff. So we'll see where it goes from here, but I hope you guys have been enjoying some of the variety. There is going to be more of that going forward. With all of that being said, let's get into this properly. Just to give you a quick lore update, we're going to be looking at a video called A Decade of Bible Lessons or something to that effect. And it's basically going to be a celebration of the Caleb and Sophia series. Now, this is a series, an animated series that has been put out by the Jehovah's Witness to help indoctrinate their young children into sticking with their religion, getting baptized, and falling in line. So, with all of that being said, I think that's the second time I've said with all of that being said. Maybe we'll see if we can get 3 times of with all of that being said. Let's do this thing.
One day in April 2011, the overseer of audio video services came downstairs, down to post-production, gathers everybody into a little room, and he says the governing body wants to make an animated series for children, and they want to know if you can do it. And so we all looked at each other. Everybody's looking around the room. Are we really going to make an animated series for children? Do they really want this?
So we are treated to another appearance by one of our favorite people that have come on the JW Broadcasting before, Brian Jalapeno. Yes, he's a true legend within the XJW community. Now, it is funny to me that they have this idea like, wait, really? You want to make an animated series for children? When animated series for children, when it comes to religious indoctrination, are ubiquitous. In fact, just for giggles, here's a quick little speed run of a bunch of different videos and little weird clips and stuff from some of the various ones that I found in about 5 minutes on the internet.
Are we in the time of Jesus?
Yes. You have no other option but to throw me off the ship.
So these must be the Israelites.
Yep.
Be the prince of the scorpions, the locusts, and the buzzards.
Don't you want to see Jesus?
Hey, why are you dressed like that?
I know of a boy who plays the harp beautifully. I'm sure he can help calm your mind.
No more dirty hands, no more backaches, and no more work.
You know how much I love eating fish.
So yes, as you can see, this isn't like a new brain-blasting concept that people are like, whoa. Like, kids like cartoons. Parents want their kids to join their religion and to be very spiritual in a very particular way. So the two go hand in hand, and even Watchtower has been doing this for a while, as evidenced by, well, this.
Back in the 1990s, the governing body was asked if a fully animated video for children could be considered. And evidently it was not the proper time because the video was not approved. But what a surprise in 2011 when the governing body approved a fully animated video series for children.
All right, so a couple things to talk about. First off, yeah, so when they mentioned this whole thing about they proposed this in the 90s, it's kind of funny because they did actually attempt to make these videos in the 90s, but it wasn't approved. My working theory here and my conspiratorial brain is saying, you know, it's 1995, I believe that's when Toy Story came out, and they saw, you know, the wonders that could be had from this real life animation, this new style, and they thought, wow, that's super cool. What if we did that as well? And they came up with the Noah and David videos, and everyone was like, well, that's pretty embarrassing. The quality of these are absolutely terrible, and that's the real reason why they scrapped it. But he's sort of rewriting the history here. Again, I'm being conspiratorial here, but it seems like he's rewriting history here to make it seem like, no, the governing body just didn't approve it because it wasn't the proper time. But this was an interesting point for me because we have a written legal document from a governing body member that was a governing body member, the oldest tenured governing body member since 1995 in Garrett Loesch. We have a written statement that was submitted into a court where he says that he is not a member of Watchtower. He doesn't control Watchtower on a day-to-day basis. He has no influence over them, blah, 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 blah. I've talked about that before. So we have a statement from him saying he doesn't control Watchtower. And now we have old Bill Maleficent here saying, well, we proposed this, but it wasn't accepted by the governing body. And then, in 2011, it was accepted by the governing body. So, if something has to be accepted by the governing body in order for a project to move forward, then that would be the person that's in control of the organization. The organization is Watchtower, and yet Garrett Loesch said he wasn't a leader or controlling Watchtower at all. Do you see the inconsistency here? I bet you do. Anyway, let's let it ride. And thank you to the JW Thoughts community. I had just posted on our Discord server. I'll post a link down below in the description if you want to join that server. But my good friend Lo, she actually gave me the actual date of when that was recorded because I couldn't remember and I couldn't be bothered to look it up. So I just typed in our Discord and then she was able to help me out. So thank you and shout outs to you, Lo. You're a real one. Anyway. On with the video. The double finger guns. You never got that before, did you?
The team immediately worked on creating a sample animation to show not just technically how they could create a character in an environment, but also, more importantly, to show how a lesson could be taught and how this could be a powerful tool. The teaching committee loved it and gave full approval to produce a series.
Well, one clever idea was to have Caleb portrayed as a small boy with a big, vivid imagination.
The intro with the stunt plane was significant, I think, because it showed that the governing body was sending a message to children everywhere, saying that this is for you, but also said to them, this character, he's just like you. He's got an imagination, likes to play, and also, just like you, he wants to be Jehovah's friend.
So a few things to talk about here. First off, I think it's hilarious that old Bill is saying, oh, we had a clever idea to portray a child with a big imagination. Bruh, have you spent any time around children? Generally speaking, they have pretty big imaginations. They create entire worlds and fantasies, and that's why cartoons and things are very appealing to children. It's because they do have such a big imagination. And then the second part of this, where he is saying, well, we wanted to create a character that's just like you. You know, he has a big imagination. He wanted to steal the candy bar, but he didn't. But also, he wants to be Jehovah's friend. Do you see the clear inception that's happening here? We're trying to create characters, you know, that are just like you. And you want to be Jehovah's friend, don't you? Don't you want to be Jehovah's friend? It's so fucking weird to hear him talk about this. It's really wild, but we haven't even begun to really get into the mind of Watchtower here, because this video, I promise you, gets much, much worse.
Well, that first video had hard deadlines that had to be met. To meet those targets, some of the brothers had to at times work for 30 hours straight on their computer. Then they would take a nap, get back up, and continue their work. But the brothers had a beautiful spirit. They told me a soldier does not work from 8 to 5. He does whatever the cause demands. Satan's at war with our children. We'll do whatever it takes to combat the devil.
So, when they're talking about hard... My voice just cracked there. That was weird. When they're talking about hard deadlines, who is setting these hard deadlines? That's the governing body, which also flies in the face of their claims that, you know, this thing is led by Jesus. Jesus didn't come down and set a deadline. The governing body did. So let's clear that up. Now, in order to meet this deadline, they are working for 30 hours straight. They take a quick nap and get right back to work? For free? What? Imagine volunteering for any charity organization, whatever it is, like a food drive, a dog shelter, you know, whatever it might be. And you work for 30 hours straight, you take a quick nap, and you get right back to work. And that's what's demanded of you to meet a deadline. That is some really intense work conditions. 30 hours straight. I don't think I could stream for 30 hours straight, and that would be just me sitting in front of a camera talking. But these people are like animating, doing very technical work. Now, what's worse, and maybe the worst part of this entire video, is the language that he uses here. And I'll play it back right now just so you can hear it again.
To meet those targets, some of the brothers had to at times work for 30 hours straight on their computer.
Did you catch that? He says how hard these brothers worked. And he only mentions the brothers. In the picture, the first picture that they show, there is a woman sitting there amongst the group that's doing these 30-hour shifts, but he doesn't say these brothers and sister. He just says these brothers, because it's a male-dominated organization. And then even when they show a picture of her, there's no acknowledgement of her. He still says the hard work that these brothers did. And it's not like a general thing like, you guys, or hey guys. Like, you know, I do that sometime where I just say guys, but it's general for my entire audience, however they define or identify themselves. And it's insane to me because Watchtower will say in other videos, brothers and sisters, let's see how hard these brothers and sisters work. So it almost seems intentional. It's very bizarre to me, but I found this to be incredibly offensive. The fact that they are unwilling to acknowledge this lady who is volunteering here and putting in insane hours, 30 hours straight, taking a quick nap, off you pop, then right back to work. It's crazy that they don't acknowledge the hard work. And the crazier part about this, where it really comes to the full crescendo here, this is like a real Mozart opera, is we have examples of the governing body taking exclusive credit for the Caleb and Sofia videos.
Over the years, the governing body has provided many additional teaching aids to help our young ones, and we have no intention of stopping there. It is a fact that animated videos capture the interest of little ones and can be a powerful teaching tool. Hence, it's my privilege on behalf of the governing body to introduce to you a new animated video series entitled Become Jehovah's Friend. This is just a preview of what we have in store for you in the future.
They pat themselves on the back. They are the ones that take all of the credit, and yet there were people that were working literally, not figuratively, literally around the clock. To work around the clock, it's 24 hours. These people, well, I guess it would be 12 hours, but these people worked twice around the clock in order to meet this deadline. And yet we don't get their names. We don't get their version. Like, we don't get a chance to congratulate them. We don't get their PayPal so we can send them some money for their hard work. We don't get their, Cash App so we can be like, hey, go and have a nice dinner with your significant other. I guess I should say husband or wife, because that's how it would work in Bethel. But we don't get that option. We can only donate to a giant pool of money that will be controlled exclusively by the governing body. It's disgusting, and it's frankly insulting, not only to the woman that was working on this project with these dudes, but it's insulting to the people that are working on the project themselves. I found this to be really horrible. And then there's the last part of this clip where he is talking about a war that's bigger than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thanos is nothing compared to Satan. We are talking about the actual battle between good and evil. And Watchtower is trying to draw Jehovah's Witness children into this whole war. Satan is at war with your children. Think about how powerful that language is to someone. For me personally, I'm not a spiritual person. I don't really see any foundation or reasons to believe in anything that's supernatural. I would think it's super cool. I'm kind of a nerd. I like that sort of stuff. So if the supernatural realm, if God and Satan exist, I think that would be really awesome. But at this point, I haven't been presented with sufficient evidence to believe it's true. But if you are someone that is 100% convinced, and don't get it mistaken, most Jehovah's Witnesses are completely convinced that they are in this battle on a supernatural and a natural plane, and that this entity, Satan, is trying to infect your children. And this is the sort of language that they're using. And this language is going to be really powerful, extremely important when people are hearing this and they think, wait, Satan is trying to get in the head of my children? Oh, wow. And then they go and say, well, because you're at war, this is why we were putting so much effort into this. This is the reason. I mean, people were willing to work a 30-hour shift, take a quick nap, and then keep up working because they thought they were working and battling Satan, the devil himself. It's really powerful stuff that we're witnessing here.
The governing body completely shaped the teaching, the tone of this series, as you would expect. One example was in the lesson on obedience, where Caleb leaves his toys out and doesn't listen to his mom. An initial idea by the team was somebody slips on a toy, knocks over a candle, curtains catch on fire, boom, house burns to the ground. So that went to the governing body, and they reviewed it, and they said, well, that's pretty scary. Try a different idea. That's a bit much.
We didn't want to do anything that needlessly frightened the children. So we try to look at it from the parent's perspective, and some things we would not approve.
Even though the governing body rejected some of the team's ideas, they made it a point to let the team know, we want these creative ideas. We encourage the creativity. And that really touched us. It meant a lot to us and kept the team motivated to keep presenting ideas.
It is incredible that our boy Brian Jalapeno here just comes out and I think inadvertently, but obviously these videos are approved, so the governing body must have said, hey, we like this. But he says, the governing body shaped the ideas and teachings of the video. And it's so obvious. Like, it's so obvious. Because the question is always being asked, where is God? Where is Jesus? If Jesus is the one controlling the organization, why are they always referring to the governing body? And this new set of governing body members has no shame. no shame whatsoever in saying, yeah, we were the ones that shaped this whole series. All of the lessons that your little kiddos are going to learn come directly from our big old thinkers. I think that this is so fascinating because we just see like a progression over time where the governing body moves farther and farther and farther away from accrediting things to the Bible, to God, to Jesus, and more about just saying, yeah, we done diddly did it, guys. Drink up. And this is a lot of work getting this spiritual food out, so we could use some of your money. Sorry if I seem aggravated. It's because I've had a lot of coffee and, you know, these subjects kind of get me triggered. This part of the video was truly annoying because we have examples where these Caleb and Sophia videos needlessly frighten children. We're about to hear an example, a live interview with someone where they admit that they were frightened by one of these videos. It's so, they have no self-awareness at all. But it's amazing to me that they proposed this idea. These guys all got together and said, yeah, because he left his toys out, the house burned down. Do you want your house burned down? I think not. Put your toys away. But the whole lesson of that story is more about obedience and obedience to the organization and your parents who are, you know, patsies for the organization more than anything else. But the idea that he can say, well, we didn't want to needlessly frighten any of the children. You know, that would be really bad to needlessly frighten any of the children. And yet we have all of these examples of things that I would say collectively we all agree would be frightening to children. I'm no expert here. I'm not the guru of child rearing. I'm just a dude that talks into a microphone. But honestly, some of the things they have are really scary, and children are meant to watch them. What are you talking about?
We also had to plan out how translating branches would produce each of the pieces needed for their DVD. As each branch had finished their DVD, we put a copy of it on our wall to track the progress. To our surprise, the wall started to fill up with discs and they spilled over to the next wall. And that was so encouraging for our team to see the progress.
This is so funny to me because it's like, what did you expect? You had a plan. You know the size of the DVDs. You know the size of the wall. And you plan on putting all of them up on the wall. And they're like, whoa, we couldn't even fit it on one wall. It took up 2 walls. It was so encouraging. That's like the equivalent of someone being commissioned to like build a brick wall or a fireplace or a house. And then being like, it was so encouraging and faith strengthening to see that we did the thing that we set out to do. Yep. Only by God's Spirit did that get done. Very odd.
So we really were excited to release it at the convention. And it was amazing the work that went into it. We were able to release it in over 130 languages, the first one.
Well, what's remarkable is
I do try my best to avoid being needlessly mean, but looking at Tony Morris talking and then them showing him at the convention, I know we're all thinking the same thing. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
young ones are using this tool to apply Bible principles even before they're old enough to attend school. And it's helping them progress to the point of baptism.
So this is a particularly important point because we get to the real meat and potatoes of what's going on here. And that is they are trying to get people hooked into the organization as early as possible. The earlier they get baptized, the better it is. And so they are trying to start the process of indoctrination using a vehicle that is proven kids like cartoons. They like goofy, silly, nonsensical things. It's just a fact. Everyone knows this. And Watchtower is using that in order for them to get baptized. Now, the reason why that is significant is because when you get baptized, you are signing a lifelong contract that has repercussions that I promise you, as someone that was baptized that didn't understand the full ramifications of that baptism, I promise you a lot of these kids that are getting baptized don't understand anything about shunning. They don't know that if they decide or wake up one day and say, you know what, this really isn't for me, I don't believe it anymore, they don't know that they are going to be cast out of their friends and their family. Everyone they've ever known in their entire life is going to treat them as if they are worse than a murderer. Can I say? I'll just blank that out. It's the P word for those of you that are wondering why I said a word that got blanked out. Anyway, they do not understand this concept that this is a lifelong commitment that they cannot turn back on. And there's a reason why in our judicial system, in our laws, we have built in ages of when people can sign contracts, when people can make commitments, because we universally recognize the simple, obvious fact that a child cannot make a commitment, especially a lifelong commitment. And yet Watchtower here is saying, look how wonderful it is that we were compelling, pressuring, and motivating children to serve a lifelong commitment. Really let that soak in for a moment. They are praising, patting themselves on the back for what? For manipulating kids to be part of their organization with the threat, the future threat, because they don't understand it at the time. The future threat, once they realize it's all nonsense, that they will be cast out from their family, that they will lose everything. As someone on the receiving end of this, I well understand the pain that's associated with leaving the Watchtower organization. And the fact that they can just sit here and jerk each other off and be like, wow, this is so great, bro, that we made these videos and people started getting baptized. And if you think I'm being disingenuous, well, they're about to literally show examples of what the thing I'm talking about. So there you go.
Our son Malcolm was baptized in 2018. Prior to his baptism, when he was still young and learning, we were worried because Malcolm had a problem with lying.
I noticed that the big green slimy things kept on growing bigger and bigger as Caleb kept lying. Seeing them, I had the picture of them stuck in my head. So every time I ever wanted to or felt like lying, I would imagine them behind me growing bigger and bigger as well. And that helped me quite a lot.
So here's an example where it makes you really scratch your head. Because earlier in this video, and it's only 5 minutes long, but earlier in this video, they talked about not wanting to needlessly frighten kids, children. And now they're showing an example of how they frightened a kid in order to get them to do what they wanted. Now, granted, the lesson here is about lying and telling the truth, so some people might say, well, the end justifies the means, but why use these fictional creatures that are, growing in size and eating the chair behind them and could, just by the scale of them, could rip the kid's head off just with one bite? Why use that as the vehicle to teach a lesson about telling the truth and the importance of that? Why use fear? Why not show children what happens to the people that are being lied to? Why not give them a demonstration of how painful and hurtful it is when someone's lying to you and it is emotionally destructive to the person on the receiving end of this. And there again, this not my I'm not the child rearing guru here. I'm not an expert, but at the end of the day, I'm sure that there are better ways of demonstrating why it's bad to lie than monsters are going to eat you. Like, it doesn't seem like the best, most effective way. And he even says himself, every time I thought about lying, I would picture these monsters eating me. It's so completely wild. And then there's the other aspect of this, and that is, why did he get baptized? Did he get baptized based on fear? Or did he get baptized because he made an evaluation of whether or not the claims that the Watchtower makes are valid? Did he evaluate the evidence and say, yes, I am convinced that this is true, therefore I want to dedicate my life to this organization with the threat of shunning if I ever decide to leave? That's not what happened. He watched some videos that made him scared as shit. And he's like, well, better get baptized now. I'm unimpressed, and I'm frankly disgusted.
After watching Caleb's father lovingly talking to Caleb and seeing Caleb listening when his father used Bible characters to teach Caleb, I tried it with Sua. Sua was receptive to this method and listened well to what we wanted to teach her. This made me realize how effective the videos are. We are very grateful.
We as parents are especially grateful to Jehovah for teaching us methods on how to raise our children well.
I want to be Jehovah's friend, like Mom and Dad.
Now, I will say this much. I have not watched all of the Caleb and Sofia videos. I've talked about this on stream. I do plan on watching them, but you guys will suffer with me, so I'm going to watch them all on stream one of these days. I think we only got through like 2 or 3, and it was like a 3-hour stream. But anyway, from the brief videos that I have seen, I can find lessons in those videos. I can find some utility for them. They seem to be, on some level, helpful to teach children lessons. But the way that they do it, I disapprove of. And the end goal of it being solely focused on, why do I keep doing this? The Watchtower, being part of the organization, being Jehovah's friend, that is where I draw the line. But the lessons in general, hey, don't lie, don't steal, be responsible, clean up after yourself, those things are frankly good. We should be teaching children these fundamental rules. And a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses will tell you, I appreciate some of the lessons that were taught to me, some of the values that were instilled in me as a Jehovah's Witness. But when it comes to the threats, when it comes to the truck backing up. Sorry if that came into the mic, and if it didn't, then this is really weird right now. But when it comes to the more negative aspects of these videos, that's where I say, it's a little icky. It's a little yucky for me. I don't like, threatening children. I don't like telling them that if they don't pay attention at these meetings that are objectively boring, that you will die if you don't pay attention to this thing that is objectively boring. I'm not a huge fan of that. So I guess I'll let you decide. This was kind of a weird, random rant, but I do understand, like, this example that they're showing, and they're showing, an example of, a parent, and they're like, hey, this is how you should talk to your kids, and it should be patient, and you should be mild. Those are all positive things in my mind, but we can call a duck, and still we can recognize the positive aspects of something, and we can also call out the negative aspects of something. It's called commentary. Free speech. First Amendment. It's a thing for a reason.
I've had the privilege over these past 10 years to meet a lot of the children. Some of them, when they first were being shown the videos and then grew a few years, and it's just very evident Jehovah blessed the project, because wisdom is proved righteous by its works. This has worked.
I think it's absolutely hilarious that the Watchtower can be sitting there saying, wow, this has really worked. The goal of these videos has been to indoctrinate children. And the biggest growth that Watchtower sees is within their own ranks. People having babies, raising those babies to eventually become new Jehovah's Witnesses. And their numbers have been going down since they started this. They've been getting worse. And yet he is claiming that this has worked, that Jehovah has blessed it. Does that mean without doing this, the numbers would have gone down more? I would like him to explain exactly what he means by this has worked, because by my estimation, this has not worked. You're still, your average growth year over year is steadily going down. I think maybe there was a little uptick, but if we talk about it in like 5-year or 10-year segments, it's definitely, demonstrably, by your own reporting of the numbers, going down. And yet you're saying that it works. Is it because you see letters from people? Is it because you hear comments from people when you go and give talks in their congregation or at their assembly hall or at their convention, and little kids come up to you and say, thank you so much for the Caleb and Sophia videos? Is that how you're measuring the success? Because if we're talking about the numbers, it's not looking so hot there for you, big guy. Anyway, that's about all I have for you guys today. I saw this video and thought, wow, well, that was fascinating. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I do have a Patreon. You can contact me via Facebook, Twitter. I'm trying to be a little bit more active on social media, but I do go through my bouts and my ups and downs battling my own brain. It's a constant battle that I think is going to go on until the day I die, so I've made peace with it. So I apologize if sometimes I am not very communicative, but it's just what I do in order to survive. But with all of that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you all are doing well. Don't forget to go down to the comments below. Say hi. I said hi to you. Hello, viewer. Say hi to Zizi. Say hi to Fred. Say hi to Winston. All of that good stuff. And I will see you next time.